Hola. All right, so I'm here. Just started. Like reading, and I was actually reading this book. By the way, today is January 4th, 2024, and I know my lighting is terrible, but I wanted to come up here so I could have like a recording of my thinking process with this. This chapter 2 was talking about the Adam and Eve situation and abandoning um or recognizing the false self and our real selves. And they gave an example of the Adam and Eve situation, and I just had my own personal thought of everyone seems to talk about, even though it's the way that the Bible writes it, kind of bring out those, even though it's the way the Bible writes it, as in Eve was the one that was introduced to the understanding or the interpretation of what, or the misinterpretation purposely meant. Let me say this. Um, this is just gonna be my thinking process. People always like kind of bring out the Eve situation, that Eve was the one that abandoned herself first. And I had asked myself, I'm like, why don't people say it was a them thing? Because they both abandoned their kind of abandoned themselves, the way this person is outlining it in the book. I wish I had read it because I was reading it out loud, but I don't feel like it. And but so I went to the Bible to kind of read chapter 3, and I'm just gonna try to see how my thinking process kind of. I normally don't speak it out. I normally have to write it, but I don't have the I'm not really feeling like writing, so I'm gonna see if I can try it a different way. So as we know it, the serpent is considered in this chapter more crafty than any of the wild animals Lord God has made, right? He's more craftier. So that stands out to me. So he says to the woman, why? I know there's different types of interpretations of this outline of this example in the Bible, but this one, the serpent was more crafty. And then he says to the woman, why would he? I know people like to say that the woman is more naive, more gullible and stuff like that, but someone that is crafty would want to go to something that I feel like they have a competition with. It's like if they could win them over, some of the time, this is just the way I'm thinking. Some of the time, if they could win that person over, even though if they could win that person over to believe what they believe, then they feel like they accomplished something. They're not going to feel like they accomplished something if they go to someone that is less intelligent or more naive in situations. Most people, they will go to someone that is more intellectual, more of a thinker, which women are, and someone that is more kind of, you would be a little bit more persuaded to do something else, because we do think more on different levels. Us women tend to not only think one way, we think multiple ways. We have so many different scenarios to that one. When we are asked a question, if we can't give all 3 or 5 or 10 of those scenarios, we normally say, wait, let me get back to you. So in this case, I know this is leaning on my own understanding, so forgive me. But I'm trying to get this thinking process through because I get a lot of interpretations blaming it on a woman, and I'm like, I think you need to step back a little bit. He goes, did God really say what he? So I know we have to kind of go between the lines here of, let me turn down, I don't know if you can hear me. Hopefully I got a lot going on, so let me pause this. Okay, I'm back. Alrighty, I got some light, and there was light. All right. So Holy Spirit, help me out here because I want to get this to I want to understand this the best way, and I don't want to understand it the way people are putting it out. I want to understand it the way it actually is, the way that Holy Spirit leads us to understand it, and that's how I operate. All right. So, not to say anybody else that have done the complete, they went book to book, not to say I have nothing against that, but I just want to have some type of understanding the way that it works for me. Because I'm keep hearing all this, blaming, pointing fingers, and isn't that the same as the Adam and Eve syndrome? Like they both was pointing fingers at each other, and it seems like that's what we're continuously doing. And I don't necessarily think that is the right way, because all we're doing is allowing generational curses to continue. And because we're still doing it today. The woman, the man, the woman, the man, the woman, the man. So when is it gonna stop? So okay. So the serpent is saying, did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden? So I'm wondering, so is this, at what point did this conversation start? Did he just go up to her and just was like, so obviously we would expect them to already have these conversations, and then he went back to her and was just like trying to keep drilling it at her to kind of look at it the way he wanted her to look at it. Because why is the first sentence, the serpent was more crafty? What do people do when they're crafty? They observe. They have to understand their opponent, right? They have to observe who they are up against. So he pretty much was aware of the Adam and Eve's relationship. Obviously he must have been watching their relationship and trying to figure out how can he get in between them. So all right, so the woman said to the serpent, we may eat fruit from the tree in the garden. So as we know, fruit is not necessarily actual fruit. Fruit is any type of production of something that, like, you're something of some sort, like what was produced, what was created out of one thing, what was birthed out of that one thing. As we know, like so fruit is not necessarily that. So we will never we won't know the actual fruit but that they're talking about, because all we have is this. But she says the fruit from the tree in the garden. But God did say we must not eat fruit from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or you will die. And then you will not certainly die. You will not certainly die. The serpent said to the woman, for God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God. In this sense, is it God Yahweh or God Adam, knowing good and evil. Because up until this point, God gave Adam the instructions to name all. He had a huge responsibility of naming all the animals, naming all the plants, naming everything that he had that he was responsible over. Um so and he was also responsible of letting his wife know, far as we know, far as we think, he was responsible for letting his wife know that what is appropriate and what was not appropriate. So she looked up to her husband for most of the instructions, which would lead me to the next line after she when the woman saw that the fruit of the tree was good for food and pleasing to the eye, and also desirable for gaining wisdom. Who had wisdom? Adam did. Of course, God did, but Adam did. And Adam was responsible for everything that was in the garden. So, like I said, she went to her husband for those things. So I can see where that interpretation of her being prideful, but it does sound a little innocent. It sounded like she was a little innocent, like she was, it could have been a sense of, this is just what I think. So she was, it also was more desirable for gaining wisdom. She took some and ate it because she wanted to be like who? And she also gave it to her husband, which kind of, okay. So she also gave it to her husband who was with her, and he ate. Why would he eat it? Why would he need to eat it? And how did she deceive him if he was already with her? Because those are the interpretations that I'm getting. She deceived her husband, but he was already with her. So was he even with her when he had the conversation with the serpent? When she had a conversation with the serpent? All right, so I guess she giving it to him because he would need wisdom too. So therefore, that bums out what I just said regarding her wanting to be like her husband. But it does seem like she wanted to have more because she felt less than or lack of or something. But I don't see why she would want to be like God. The only one that would want to be like God is the serpent. So it sounded like she was a bit brainwashed, right? Because she already had God. She already was close with him. She already had a relationship with him. Her and her husband already had a relationship with him. So the only one that did not was the serpent. So how did it become in the mind of of her not always already having those things? Hanging out with non-believers. um Let me say this. All right. Hopefully I don't make a joke out of this, but I'm just saying, like, that's what is like, yeah, the serpent must have, they spent too much time together, and he had to get her to believe that she would be like God, but why would she want to be like God after talking to this serpent, the crafty one? Um, then, okay, so she gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. She was responsible for feeding the family. So I can see where people will be like, oh, well, she deceived her husband because she was the one that was oh, here the husband, here's the groceries, now go make a meal type of thing. So but I just don't understand how that deception come into play. How did, or is that people just kind of dragging it out a bit, to make it seem like women are just out, or Eve was just kind of deceiving her husband to sin against God. Um, then the eyes of both of them were opened. So, as the serpent did say, when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God. So, let's see. Um, so that was part true. Their eyes was open, but they were not like God. And they realized they were naked. So, complete opposite. Instead of feeling complete and whole, which they already was, and the serpent convinced them that they were not, to become what they were not. Um, and they realized they were naked, so they sewed up fig leaves together and made covering for themselves. And then they hid what was once whole and complete and unashamed and unapologetic. Um, were now shamed. To their own eyes, within their own eyes, because it was just them two. And you would think that's your husband, that's your wife. Why are you hiding? Who are you hiding from? God, the one that gave you the instructions, because now you realize, damn, please wait. I messed up. I messed up. I messed up. Oh shoot. All right. Then the man and his wife heard the sound of the Lord, as he was walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And they hid from the Lord among the trees in the garden. But the Lord God called to them, "Where are you?" I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid. Who The Lord said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from that tree that I commanded you not to eat from?" The man said, "The woman you put here with me." So he blamed God. He blamed God. "The woman you put here with me, she gave me some fruit from the tree and I ate it." So it sounds like what is happening here is everybody is just going off of what the man said. And when we in trouble, what's the first thing people do? They say, "Oh no, it was that person." They never say what they did. They never say what they did. They always blame it on the other person when they're in trouble. So it sounds like what a lot of people are using, is this interpretation. The woman did it. The woman did it. The woman did it. The woman did it. And even though you was with the woman, it says it. It says you was with her. So you was quite aware just as well as her, and you seemed to be convinced just like she was. But since she was in charge over that task, you went along with it because you saw that it was also good to eat. Because at no point, did it say the woman said to her husband what the serpent said. He already knew because he was with her. And right away, as soon as the Lord comes, after they get dressed, the woman gave me that and I ate it. Right? So this is the only interpretation that we have. So I'm just saying, like, we need to stop with the blame games and realize that we are all at fault because we're all here. We're all with each other, right? We're with each other, and when we start to blame others for kind of being in that position of giving, even though they had the understanding that whatever they were brainwashed or manipulated to think, if your understanding is more clear than the other person, you don't just go along with what the other person is doing. If is more clear, because it's some cases that um we don't have that knowledge. We don't have that knowledge, so we do tend to go along with things because we don't have that knowledge. But if we do, and in this case, Adam was the one that had more knowledge than she did, because he was given that responsibility to have. He was given that responsibility, therefore he had more knowledge than she did. From my understanding, because she didn't have that role. She only had the role of producing and being fruitful and multiplying, right? In all areas, not just sexual, but all areas you're being fruitful, like the flour into bread, groceries into a whole meal type of thing, um, several meals. Um, then the Lord God said to the woman, "What is this you have done?" The woman said, "The serpent deceived me and I ate." That's about right. That's about right. But she's still blaming someone else, but not technically, because then they're after she say, well, the serpent. I mean, the only one seems to be kind of questionable is what the man said. It's the man, because it says he was right there with her when she ate. That's the only one that I have trouble with understanding, because there's no, in between. There's no other lines that we have to kind of go off of, um, or other details that we can go off of to really say, like, was he there the whole time? And if he was there the whole time, that debunks every other interpretations of this story, or every other teaching, because they paint the picture as if the woman is completely at fault, and the woman deceived her husband, and that's not the case. She saw that it was good. She thought that it would be nourishing to her family. She thought, and I'm just speaking, trying to be as practical as possible, because it's like, this is what we do. We go online, we research different recipes, and we get whatever that the recipe says, and we make it, and then we give it to our family. Not with the lack of knowledge of what if one of those ingredients was poisonous to one of your family members, or whatever the case may be, and then you bring it to your family. That's not Is that really deceiving? I mean, yes, it does hurt the family member, so it's more of, you're definitely at fault. You still have to deal with the consequences because you are at fault. But at the same time, that's not deception. You thought it was good. You thought it was you thought that it could be nourishing to your family. It's just that one ingredient was maybe one of your children had an allergic reaction, so therefore it was poisonous to that child. Just to try to be as practical. But it's just like, do that mean you deceived your child? Because it goes against what? The overall being? I'm just trying to figure out, like, how did the woman deceive her husband? Because people still to this day, they're pointing the finger at the woman, saying and dismissing the woman, and belittling the woman, and making her to seem just very less than, and probably just because of this one line what the man has said. instead of taking ownership of his family, which he was the head. And you can see that he kind of stepped down in his own selves. He was no longer that head. He became dependent. And we see that today as well. Um the man became dependent on the woman instead of the other way around. And and then the woman said, the serpent deceived me. She went outside of the household. She went outside of the family. She went outside of the union to get information, to get understanding, because she felt like her husband wasn't giving her enough of what she needed. So she stepped out. Um, so therefore she went out to have communion, conversation with an outsider. And that outsider was more crafty. Um, and manipulating and brainwashing to make her believe that she wasn't already whole. She wasn't already complete within her union. And something that was watching from the outside saw how complete you were already with your family, with God. You were already good. Therefore they were hating, right? They were hating. So he wanted to get her to believe that she was not good, so therefore so she can step out and do what will break the unity that she already had with her family and with her husband and with, yeah. um and of course, because you have to deal with the consequences, the Lord, because you have done this, and he let her know, since you have done this, this is a big deal, regardless of what you thought was just a mistake. There's bigger consequences. You gave your child had the allergic reaction and actually died. How could you live with that? Something so innocent, what you thought was innocent, or what you was led to believe that was innocent, because other people were doing it. So the consequences is, now they won't trust you to be that. Now your family, your other kids and your husband won't trust you to be that person responsible of the nurturing of the family, whether physically or nutritionally or whatever the case may be, whatever that your task was. Now you are shamed against. Now you are ostracized, in which it is happening still today. Women are not treated equally, even though all this and that has come into play, far as um, like with the voting and having equal rights and stuff like that. Women are still not treated equally. Um, and we're not really given a, we have said a lot, but they they allow us to have the stage. They allow us to say certain things, but okay, now next. Like it's like, okay, we let you say something now, right now, go sit down. So you won't say to so you won't get mad and make a big fit have a big fit and say more than what you need to. So let you say something, let you have a little shine. But I hate to use the word let, but that's how it seems. It seems like that is what is happening. They giving us a false sense of equality. And because when things hit the fan, even with looking at who's in the limelight of um what type of woman is in the limelight, because that is their idea of what women should do and should be. And it's also what the serpent is already doing, what the serpent did, convincing you that you are not already complete, that you are not already whole. Therefore, you have to be like another woman that is not even operating in that unity that you have with your husband, Jesus Christ, and your father, the head, which is Yahweh, the Most High. Because it looks like to the eye, right? What did Eve say? It was good for food, nourishing or whatever, then pleasing to the eye, and more desirable for gaining wisdom. In this sense, example I'm using, it is pleasing to the eye, and is gaining not necessarily wisdom, but is gaining the acceptance. And wisdom do lead to acceptance. Um, food, it was something that is absorbed and then made into something else, like for energy or something. Um, so now today I feel like a lot of women that are in the limelight is not a good representation of what a woman is. When she's walking in her real self, her true self. So to what if I look at just those illustrations side by side, what is practical today and what was practical when this occurred in the Bible, it's pretty similar. It's pretty similar. It's pretty similar. So what is our consequences today? I know I kind of went off, but I'm just allowing the Holy Spirit to kind of speak for me, hopefully. Not hopefully, it's like I feel like that's where it's going. But anyways, so what is our consequences today? um of us allowing these women to kind of dictate who we should be, our real selves, because a woman that is in that sense is walking in her false self, right? She's already deceived, she's already manipulated, she's already um brainwashed to believe that she already had taken the fruit. Let's say that she already had ate the fruit, so she's already walking in that. So now these people that already ate the fruit is in the limelight and being has everything that looks good. It looks good and pleasing to the eye and look more acceptable and look like they just got it all together, and but in reality they're missing the middle ground. They're missing that unity with Yahweh. Um that completion with their husband and the Most High. Um let's see. All right, so what is our consequences today? Is it the same? We are getting blamed. We're getting kind of diminished. Getting belittled. We're getting pointing fingers. Because, like, the woman didn't point the finger at the husband. She pointed it at the serpent. She was like, no, no, the serpent deceived me. And I ate it. Like, I don't see where, like, she meant it in a way that people are, interpreting this hair. It was just kind of like I said, with the woman bringing home the recipe, and one of those ingredients was poisonous to one of her children, and not realizing that her child was allergic to one of those ingredients, and her child actually dies from it. What is your first response? Like, it, in shock. Like, what? I could be carrying it on, but that's how I feel about this. It's like, I don't think it was meant for it. I don't think it was is meant in the way that it has been interpreted. I think it was pretty innocent in a sense, because once you are deceived, you don't realize you're deceived. A person that don't think that they're deceived are already deceived. So to have that awareness and realization, once her eyes was open, once both of their eyes were open, and then they looked at themselves as naked, ashamed, and now guilty. And then now they have to suffer the consequences of the one that was head over both of them. To the woman, he said, I will make your pains in childbearing very severe. With painful labor, you will have you will give birth to children. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. Your desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. So, wasn't he already over her the whole time? He was over her. He was, but maybe actually he wasn't. He just was given a role, and she was given a role, and they both equally saw each other as complete, because what he didn't do, she did, and what she didn't do, he did. And it was a puzzle piece. But in this sense, her desire, and what he's making under, I don't necessarily know if he necessarily is saying this is what I'm going to do, or this is what's happening because you ate the fruit. Because he just says, how is these are they like instructions of saying, I'm going to do this to you now? Because people are saying, like, we're punished because of this. But no, we ate the curse. The curse was eaten. Therefore, since with that, all these things occurs. He said, because you have done this, this is what's happening. This is what's gonna happen. It wasn't God saying, I'm going to punish you. He said, because you did this, your child died. Because you didn't look further into the instructions or the ingredients, the consequences is your child's gonna die. To Adam, he said, because you listened to your wife and ate a fruit from the tree that I commanded you, you must not eat from it. Cursed is the ground because of you. Because of you. Through painful toil, you will eat food from it all the days of your life. Through painful toil, you will eat food from it. It will produce thorns and thistles for you. Whew. And you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow, you will eat your food until you return to the ground. Since from it you were taken, for dust you are, and to dust you will return. We see this today. You will produce thorns and thistles. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, for the man. What is thorns and thistles for you? What is curses the ground because of you? Through painful toil, you will eat food from it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow, you will eat your food. A lot of men has kind of stepped down from that lordship that is embedded in them. Because they have not been able to withstand this painful toil and to actually work for their food. And nowadays men feel false self, understand? That's the false self of the man, is they feel entitled to be fed. They feel entitled to be nurtured. They feel entitled to have these things, and that's why a lot of things that are said now is the woman is saying, I want this, and the man is saying, well, what are you bringing to the table? And it's like the back and forth. It's like we're both missing the mark, because these curses that were passed down generationally, is something that's going to have to be maintained regardless. By now you would think we kind of would be able to master these things. But because we're still doing what Adam and Eve was doing way back then, where we haven't come together to have a understanding and become complete again. And that will always be a battle, because there will always be a serpent trying to deceive. someone. And now that someone is the man. It's no longer the woman. It's the man. Um, and which is why men are stepping down and not even allowing themselves to be to have that unity with the woman and Yahweh, that complete unity, that complete union, and going a whole nother way because it's hard and they are not, in a lot of sense, they're not able to live up to it, and women aren't making it any easier, and I'm not sure if we're supposed to, because the nature of the curse is for the man to kind of suffer and the woman as well. The curse that you put on yourself. Understand that God did not do this. God created this thing so that you should not do. This is what you should not do. This is not, you should not touch this. Telling you, do not touch this. This leads to other things that you ain't even ready for. Do you understand? You're not ready for this. Not even close to it. I want you to stay away from it. It's there, but it's not for you. The TV, all this television stuff, what people are doing, it ain't for you. What they doing is what they doing. That ain't for you. You should not touch it. If you touch it, then you're going to see that it's good and good enough to eat and more desirable and more wise because it's pleasing to the eye. They already ate the fruit. They good. So they say. Um so are you, what focus are you? Are you going to direct your focus towards the middle tree, or you're going to focus your attention on everything else that you have, that you were given, that was good for food? By the sweat of your brow you will eat your food. You can't eat unless you work for it. The man. So with that question of what you bring to the table, well, it says here that you can't even eat until you work really hard, until you breaking sweat. So if you ain't breaking sweat, there's your question. That's your answer to your question. You can't even get any of these things you asking for because you haven't done what you needed to do to receive it. It's an automatic. If you do this, if you work hard for it, you will automatically receive it. By the sweat of your brow, you will eat your food. It says, it keeps saying it. Curses the ground because of you. Through painful toil, you will eat food from it. From painful toil, you will eat food from it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow, you will eat your food until you return to the ground, since from it you were taken. From dust you are, and to dust you will return. Keep talking about eating, eating, eating. And with the woman, is talking about childbearing, painful labor, and being under her husband, which is so tough because we know how We know how men can be. Very egotistic. You woman. Woman. Listen. And to have to kind of submit to that all the time, that is whew, kind of a bit humbling. Because it's like you don't even know what you talk about. You two up in your head. You think we're up in our head. You're too up in your head to even listen. Why? Because you think we're gonna get deceived again by the serpent, and you're afraid to listen to us. But that's why that open communication between the man and the woman is so extremely important. Why does she feel the need to go to the serpent to have any conversation? Why does she feel the need to go outside of the union to have conversation and to be deceived? Still to this day, women are stepping out and men are stepping out. That communication is very evident, like very necessary, essential. We can't be we both having our hands out. Nobody's giving. Like, we need to communicate. What do you need? What do I need? And what do I need and want in this relationship? What do you need and want in this relationship? And let's team it out and give that to each other. So it'll be a back and forth give and take. You're still at square one talking about what you bring to the table. The table. What are you talking about? I'm bringing the table and chairs. The one that you're sitting on. I brought it. Like, I'm not understanding. Past that. Basic. Like, everything is so surface level. Will you bring it to the table? Why is that a topic? But I do understand. I know I'm getting off, but I do understand. But it goes with it because it's like I said, when I had went out to a meetup with a group of people, a group of people that had similar interests, and the other day, and when I had brought up the topic of what is your ideal relationship, because they kept talking about what like their bad experience of relationship. So I asked them what were a good relationship that you had, and a or if you don't have a good one, then what is your ideal relationship? Like like no one was able to answer that question, and they actually felt like I was being a therapist because I asked that, and I'm tired of talking about something negative. Can we talk about something positive? What is da 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 da? I didn't see it as anything wrong. I saw it as a topic since we're talking about relationships. So it's like I do get why the basics are being asked, because even me just sitting with a group of women, and I would think that they had a little bit more idea what they want in a relationship, because they're out on these dating apps looking for relationships. So it's like just starting with that. It's like the man and a woman coming together with you and to have union. But these are the type of people that are getting together with other types of with these are the men and women that are getting together and being those examples that are want like cuz even though they're going in with no understanding of what their ideal relationship would be or what they're even looking for, they meet somebody that they just, okay, well, let's just get married. And then they get married. Now these are the type of people that's in the limelight with no relationship, but then they're out giving advice to other. Well, we met this way, we met that way. When really they never even had any idea what they were even doing. It just happened. They just agreed to get married, but they're still that person. They're still that person of not knowing what they want, even in that marriage. And then they break up, and then now it's, oh, relationships, there's no point because they all break up. No, these people that are getting together with no understanding of how they can outline their relationship. To me, you have to literally brainstorm in your relationship. You have to figure out and be a problem solver. You have to understand when you mess up in this area, how are you going to fix it? How are you going to bounce back when you bring home a recipe that hurts one of your children? How y'all going to bounce back together? Are y'all all going to, is your family going to just break up? How are you going to gain that trust back? What are you going to do? You blame the woman. What are you going to do? How y'all going to meet one on one and say, I'm sorry, I messed up. It doesn't stop what the consequences of the thing. But how we gonna come together? How we gonna come together to fix this? We messed up. We both agreed to eat it. We both agreed to eat this thing. We both did it. How we gonna fix it? How we gonna come back together to have that oneness again? Or are we just gonna continue to allow the consequences to tear us apart and way apart and further apart? Or are we going to continue to allow the serpent into our relationship to convince us that we're not already complete, that we're not already good because that relationship over there, they got $1 million house. Her ring is bigger than her whole entire hand. And because your ring is, you can't really see it. Don't pay me no mind. But for real, we get to that point. Like, it's like why her? And that happened to be your neighbor or one of your childhood best friend. And what you have to see all the time because she's in your friend group or he's in your friend group. How are you dealing with that? With communication, with honesty, being transparent about how you really feel. To a certain, like, you have to still be respectful to the other person's feelings and understanding who you're dealing with to know what to say, what not to say. That's where that brainstorm comes in and trying to figure out how can I get my wife or my husband to understand what I'm saying without feeling like I'm trying to throw darts at them. Because these marriages are breaking up constantly. Why? We don't know how to talk to each other. We're insensitive. We're looking at other people's relationships and saying, why aren't we doing that? Or y'all both agreeing to do that relationship as that like someone else's, and y'all realizing why it's not working for y'all. Get away from the tree. Get away from the tree. The one that you're not supposed to touch. You're not supposed to touch it. It ain't working for you. You're not spending enough time having that intimacy, and not necessarily just affection to intimacy. Just having that oneness and that conversation that actually brings something out of you that makes you feel complete with that person. Just by a conversation. Have you ever had that? Have you ever had a conversation with someone that made you feel so complete with that person and at one with that person? Those are the conversations that you should be having with your wife or your soon to be wife or soon to be husband, whatever. Those are the conversations you need to have. That feeling, that really that dig at you, but so respectful, so understanding, so patient. And so open and so real and authentic. And able to be yourself, whether it's your funny self, silly self, or your serious self, all that in one, just all everything in that conversation or conversations with the person that you want to spend the rest of your life with. So you say, so you vowed. Ah, nah. That's my interpretation of that, and that's where I led to. So I'm just gonna I didn't finish my chapter. That kind of led me. I was like, let me sit with this. Let me sit with that, because my first thought, like I said, with the chapter was, why are they always blaming a woman? I don't remember seeing it. So I went and picked up my Bible, and I'm just like, that's not how it went. It ain't go like that. Not like that. Not like that. But I can see where the naive self or the false self can really get in trouble and still have to suffer the consequences of her actions. And no matter what, because you ate the fruit. You ate it. Whether you was deceived by other, yes, you were deceived. That's the understanding. That's the acceptance of it. So when something else come around, you'll understand what has actually happened when it is presented to you. That's good that you accepted and understood what it was. But why? Why do we always have to wait until something drastic or something bad happens for us to see the deception, see the manipulation, see the corruption? It took them to actually lose their unapologetic self, their complete self, their true real self, to understand that something was wrong. But in reality, it was wrong from the beginning because you were told, do not do that. Do not do that. So whether someone convinced you that it was okay, you still was given instructions to not do that. This is speaking to me. But yes. Whoo, child. All right, so that's it. That's all I have to say. All right, with love. I'll talk to you later.